Oh hey, would you look at that? We've got fraternal twins. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. It's time for that weekly mod collection demo shop update. This week, unfortunately, it might just be the new norm of only getting 12 guitars, because since the introduction of the mod collection, we typically got between 16 to 20. But for 2 weeks in a row, we've only got 12. So is production slowing down, or are they just taking more time on each? I'm not sure, but let's go ahead and look at the new ones for this week. And to kick it all off, let's talk about the one everyone's talking about. So this is a regular Les Paul Standard 50s in a finish that they called Slither Snake Green. It was $3,000, which is only a minor premium, but let's see what we got here. From right here, we almost have like a golden camouflage type thing going on. It reminds me of their Melted Penny Les Paul Standards that they've done a bunch of times, but we've got the black hardware, we've got the voodoo style knobs that will have the red numbering. You've got the copper color pickup rings, and it looks like we have edge-only pickup covers with snakeskin textures, very similar to what they did with Croco Melon that we reviewed and demoed in this episode. But let's adjust the contrast here so you can see it a little bit better, because it is kind of a dark finish. But now let's flip it to the back. We can see the continuation of the design. I think it's pretty safe to assume that the edges might have it as well. But here's where they took it to the extreme. Not the face of the headstock, but on the back, you've got a snake stinger. I thought that was interesting. However, I think this photo gives you a very good feeling of what it's going to look like in person. It almost looks like they just gave it like a swirl paint job. I'm not really sure how they accomplished that. But hey, get this. We don't have fret nibs on this. Has it been refretted? Mod Collection 2022 Standard 50s? Maybe. The only thing I could think of is maybe it was actually a Les Paul Modern, but it doesn't have the back cut. And it doesn't have the true mother of pearl inlays, so no, that can't be right. But looking really closely, it looks like a couple of them do still have the nibs intact, so I don't know what's going on there. But wow, that's a chunky one at almost 10 pounds. But if you're looking for something that weighed about the same, but had a little bit more traditional class to it, how about this custom in polished Pelham? This is a really dark blue Les Paul custom. Usually when I think Pelham blue, I think of something a little bit lighter than this, but I think this looks fantastic with the gold hardware. Outside of the unique finish, it doesn't look like they changed anything on our headstock, but it was a complete refinish, and the description says it has a satin finished neck. However, from these photos, I definitely would not have been able to tell that. The cool thing about this one though, it was only $4,600. That was technically a discount of anywhere between $400 and $1,500. So naturally that thing sold quick. But how about this throwback to the 80s, a Les Paul Standard 50s in what they called Magic Hour Burst. I guess if we really think about it, this started life as a gold top and they just sprayed some orange around the edge to make it a little bit more fancy. This kind of reminds me of the Gold Burst, more specifically the Harvest Gold variety, which is a rare custom color in and of itself. But this one is a little bit more saturated, I would say, and yeah, we got the P90 pickups, but if you were looking for one of those customs, this might fill the void until one pops up in a condition that you're looking for. I was really hoping we would flip this and see that they bursted the back of the neck, the headstock, gave it silver burst-like treatments, but unfortunately, no, they just left it natural, but I think that's cool too. But they weren't asking much of any premium for that, so to get a custom color at a decent weight, I think they were fine. But how about this one named Ready Red? It's a Les Paul special that slightly reminds me of this one we documented a long time ago. It had like a bluish border with a similar color. So just enjoy this beautiful outdoor B-roll shot here for a second. And now let's flip over to Ready Red. Do you kind of see what I'm talking about here? It's the same model, but we have a very similar purple hue going on here. I'm not sure if this has a flip-flop chameleon effect to it, or what exactly is going on here. But switching over to the back, you see that same effect on the neck. That's kind of cool. It's almost like a lightning strike. And okay, this angle shows it a little bit more. And wow, take a look at it from here. Yeah, I think I slept on this one. Oh wow, and it's still available at the time of recording. Not gonna lie, that's really tempting for only a $100 premium. But continuing on here, we have Spring Blue Pearl, this time an SG special. And alright, fool me once, Gibson, but fool me twice? I don't think so. I think this has that same exact flip-flop finish going on here. But they made this one a little bit more interesting. They left the neck P90 alone, but then they gave us a Firebird bridge pickup. Doesn't look like our headstock changed too much. But yep, sure enough, this one confirms everything I thought about the finish changing colors on ya. It's got that same purple. Which color does this effect complement more, the blue or the red? I think the red would be more striking in person, although I think ultimately I would choose the blue. But it looks like this one is a satin finish. Whereas from this photo, it looks like the special is gloss. But hey, would you look at what made it to the mod collection? We had just talked about these a couple of nights ago in the 3 new Gibson Custom Shop models episode. So there's been quite a few of these natural Les Paul customs that have very 70s influenced vibes to them. Now this one doesn't necessarily scream 70s to me. The top doesn't quite do it for me, but it is one of the super plain ones. Maybe it's just the stock photography style that's not really playing this up. But it looks like they said they put custom buckers in it. It's got some nice wood grain on the back. So I'm not really sure if this is actually a new custom finish on this or just a reject of the models that we've been talking about. And 4,700 isn't too bad. Whereas these other ones on Reverb, they were listing them at 6,000. Now the prices have been slashed to only a couple hundred more. This one was just listed today. There's definitely a lot more than the 5 that were talked about online. I mean, 5,300, this has got a much more unique top to it. But I would say this one's maybe a bit more uniform. So let's see, did somebody buy it? Yes, they did. But if that was too plain for you, how about Space Cactus for 2,900? I don't know where we're getting that name from, but okay, no pickguard. Black plastics. Seems to be witch hats are the theme this week, but that dark fretboard pairs well with this color. And you've got the Ultra H hardware. And ooh, nice. They don't always do that on the standards. Full refin. That was worth it if you like space cactuses. I can see why it's sold. But check out this Tobacco Mahogany 62 reissue. I think the reason they gave it that name is it's not like Tobacco Sunburst over top of mahogany or something. It's that regular see-through finish that has the nice mahogany color to it, but then they've tinted it heavily with yellow lacquer. You can kind of see what we're talking about around the binding on the neck, so it's kind of yellowed it even further. I like the pickguard design that they put on here. It's got a cool swirl-like effect to it. But we don't get the matching backplate. But you do get the matching truss rod cover, although I would say it's not exactly my favorite looking. But how about this for the Lefties, a standard 60s in Bourbon Burst? I don't know about you guys, but does this not look like a purple burst to you? I don't know if it's the purple pickup rings that just change the Bourbon Burst feel, but that just looks like a straight up new custom finish. But wow, that fretboard is ridiculously dark, and that's preconditioning too. But it looks like they put gold hardware on this everywhere too, so maybe that's messing with the vibes of it. But if you're not a big fan of the purple, you can always change those. That's easy enough. You can get rid of the bedazzled knobs. Because after that, it's pretty much just a regular standard. I mean, we don't have our Les Paul model decal, and the back was just left a natural color. What's going on with this one? Natural Satin, $1,800 Les Paul special. You can get this for $100 more with all the fancy paint, or you can get this, the super plain boy. I don't know, it's got a vibe to it. We just saw this last week. A Les Paul special got a regular Les Paul style pickguard, but they filled in the hole and then put what was supposed to be on there. So there must have been a small batch of these that got messed up at the factory. It's nice to see some of them lived with the mistake, because it does transform the look of these things. Very uniform and plain wood grain. Interesting clear knobs on here. Let's see what we've got going on the back. Well, clear back plates. You can see the neck mahogany is much darker in color than the bodies. But here we go. Here's our fraternal twin. They call it Devilry Red. Last week we had this interesting half and half design, front and back. This week, kind of half and half again, but just in a different way. Because you've got the red stripe right here, but hear me out, guys. They matched the pickups with the stripes. So it's like they painted the pickups too. I like it. And of course you got the voodoo style knob, so you're also going to have a little bit of red numbering around there. They gave you a straight up red headstock. But I don't know if we can call them fraternal twins anymore. They continued the design right here on the sides and back, but what is this? Why don't we have a red stinger on this? Or at least a red stripe? I mean, you gotta continue the design, guys. You were 90% of the way there. To be fair, maybe it's because when you're playing this, you'll see the red head and it'll contrast nicely against the black. And then lastly, we've got Wineburst Satin on a 50 standard. We just talked about dark Wineburst in a couple of episodes. You can check out my cool LeGrand episode if you want to see that cool early 90s finish that not enough people talk about, or just learn about big fancy jazz Archtop things. But this just kind of reminds me of like the 2018 Blood Orange Burst. It's actually got some Slash vibes with the double black pickups. And it's got a matching back. Nothing too crazy. So how did they do this week? I don't know. There was only like 2 or 3 that I was really impressed with. So let's see what the demo shop has going for it. Last week we had a huge sale blowing everything out, but with the restock we have 52 new results here, and most of these are new, so we definitely have some fresh inventory in here. But what stood out to me is a beautiful hand select 50 standard. The clear plastics mixed with the black pickup rings, it just transformed the vibe of this, and this top works really well together. And the way that clear pickguard shades it just a little bit more just kind of makes it look like a painted pickguard. We've got an interesting little wood grain pattern back here. There was a Custom Shop 61 335 reissue. Basically, they just gave it cream plastics, and you got some mild figuring within the top as well as the back. This SG Modern actually has some pretty nice figuring. But I was shocked to see this, a Les Paul Standard HP2 in Mojave Fade. Honestly, it's one of the better ones of these that I've seen. Like, there's some crazy out there tops, and this is really pinstripey, but it's got character to it at the same time. These are not for everybody. You can check out this episode where I review one of the hot pink fade ones. But if you just like exploring Gibson territory and everything that they've ever done, these high-performance guitars, granted, if you buy them at the right price, can be a lot of fun. You got locking Grovers, you've got these weird pickups without rings, and then you've got all the fancy push-pull pots and dip switches to play with, and it's got the Access heel carve. Now that's just like the Custom Shop, it's not like the Les Paul Modern's heel carve. So this one's at $2,900. Where these things get really fun is when you can pick them up for about $2,000, but that is kind of pushing it nowadays. Next up, a 61 SG. It seems relatively unassuming. The fretboard looks really dried out on it. Why am I sharing this with you guys? Look at this neck. Oh my goodness. You don't see that in modern production. I mean, this thing is from 2021 and it's got all this flame figuring in mahogany. In the 90s, you can find this, as well as the early 2000s, but as far as modern day mahogany, you really do not see this effect too often. I don't see that lasting after this video has aired because somebody's going to pick it up just for that unique fact. But hey, there was another double neck. If you need one of these in your life, which not too many people actually do outside of collectors. But I was impressed to see this, a Silverburst Flying V Custom. That was a pretty good price, that's why it sold fast. Looks kind of like Brent's signature guitar, but that's really slick on the back. The way that they've bursted everything. You've got the bound headstock, black serial number. Not quite sure what's going on here, that really got chewed up. And is that gold fret wire? Or is it just reflecting something? Either way, why does the fret look so flat right there? Then they also have this Antique Natural Explorer that was a little bit older. It has some decent figuring within it. So nothing too crazily exciting there either. How about the European side of things? These guys really didn't do much of anything this week. They still have a lot of leftover inventory even after their big blowout sale. And they've still got a couple of prototypes back here and some rare models. But if you thought that last Explorer wasn't that great, look at this one that they sold. Yeah, for $1,500 including everything, sign me up. That thing is looking fantastic. That's gonna dance and play in the light so well. But then they also had these Junior Tribute DC bases, and then they had this other Explorer, and that's literally the extent of what they posted this week. There just wasn't too much, unfortunately. But just as some fun bonus content, Mr. Punk over here sent me a photo of his brother's new 2021 Les Paul Tribute. It's got some nice wood grain on the top, very fine guitar, love the finish. Now keep in mind, this is like a slightly more than $1,000 guitar. These things come stock with maple necks, that's what makes them a little bit different, but this one happens to have ridiculous flame figuring within the neck. It's just luck of the draw. They get the maple, they dedicate it to these guitars, and sometimes you can find the ridiculous figuring. So that one is a very fantastic piece, I like it. And that's not just a, okay, cool, I have a little bit of dancing in the neck. I mean, that is uniformly flamed. If you need some more action like that, check out my old Les Paul Futura review and demo right here, because that one had a blue neck with a similar phenomenon going on. Alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed this week's recap. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.